Jonathan is with QUIC, Queen's University Nursing Council, which is remarkable for a couple of things. Number one is their extraordinary alumni relations program, and number two, what is your typical retention rate in your groups from year to year? 50%, 70%, 60%? They have 100%. They've had a 100% retention rate for the past 3 years, which means that they don't lose any members from year to year, which I think is pretty extraordinary. Elaine is from HVAC, Harvard Financial Analyst Club, and she was previously involved in a women's group on campus there. She was also one of the winners of a prominent competition held at Harvard this fall, a Stockbridge competition. Yichuan is the head of Michigan Interactive Investments, and they put on the Undergraduate Investment Conference, which is arguably one of the most highly regarded and certainly one of the best known Stockbridge competitions at the undergraduate level in the world. And Matt is actually the winner of the competition from this past year, as well as the head of UT Austin's investment club. And he also won the Point72 Challenge this past year. Point72 has been launching their first round of competitions this past year as a way of beefing up their recruiting presence on campus, and he's basically the best guy they found. So those are our panelists. Thank you again for joining us. And to kick off the discussion, just the idea is to have about a half-hour discussion and focus on Q&A. One thing I want you to just think about and comment on is the difference between core membership and the broader community at your respective universities. There are some resources which you can only provide to 20, 30 students, and there are some things which are more appropriate for an audience of hundreds, to basically your broad membership. Where do you draw the line? How do you define the resources and your mission with respect to your core membership versus the broader community? And Jonathan?
Sure. I don't know if this is on. I don't think it's on. Are any of yours working?
Actually, yours is working now.
Hello? Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, I think I would look at that question in two ways. So the first is just sort of the number standpoint. So how many members are going to be core members?
Yep.
So just speaking from personal experience, our group has about 30 core members. And I think the other side of the question is sort of the material side. So what material are you sort of using to show core members, and what are you showing the broader community? I guess the way that we do it is basically just we try to run our group, and we then open it up to the public to come to our meetings, versus sort of trying to host actual sessions of educating the public, if that makes sense. So we try to do our mission, which is managing the fund, and so we hold weekly meetings. So I guess the main way that we sort of engage the broader community is just by having them come and having them sort of interact, whether it's asking questions or sort of providing feedback or whatnot. So I think that's the way I look at it.
So Harvard is a little bit different because we are a liberal arts college, so we don't have any pre-professional classes. So we don't.
Can everyone?
We don't have accounting. Okay. So Harvard's a liberal arts college, so we don't have any pre-professional classes like accounting, management, any of that kind of financial education. So the goal of our club is to provide that financial education to our undergraduates. And so we have 3 different tranches. We have board, which is made out of 23 students. We have asset management, which is a larger tranche, it's like 50 people. And then we have our comp group. So like when you want to join our club, it's around 100 people per semester. So those are 3 groups. I think we offer services for everyone. Like we have recruiting events for all, that like 400 people a year. And then we have special events for boards, like networking, that kind of thing. But generally, everything is open to everyone.
Hello? Hello? Okay, that's much better. Okay. I think it's instructive to start out by asking, what is an investment club, right? Like, what are we here for?
I should note that each one is entering a Bridgewater.
I am at Bridgewater this summer.
So then, I
feel like it's very important to have an idea of like why we're even here and like what the goals are, right? I definitely think, right, like a club is nothing more than a group of people who really want to like know more about finance and would benefit a lot from having a community that is very passionate and wants to interact with that, right? And if that's the goal of like educating people and having this vibrant community, both for alumni that graduate as well as for potentially future members who might come to the club, right? Then the question of how do you draw the line between core and broader membership is a question of those people that you want to reach, how good will their experience be, right? And if you view it that way, then you might see that MII actually used to have the very broad open, 200 people, but we found that people couldn't take the responsibility, And I honestly think as a freshman, it's intimidating to be in a huge group of people, and so to have 60 group of and so when we downsized to 60 people, that like gave younger members a stronger sense of entitlement that they should be able to speak up. And we found that that was a good way of basically having a smaller group, and then you can run education sessions. You can have people bring in bagels for education sessions, which builds a broader social community. You can order Chipotle and not bankrupt the entire fund, right, because you only have 60 people. And this kind of social cohesion helps propel you forward in many ways, right? And so if you start from the general idea of you want to identify people, you want to provide an outlet for people who want to get better into finance, then that's the way that we evaluate what the size of our club is.
So the fund that we work at the University of Texas, so what we do is we look at the core membership as obviously the base to really run the organization. So we do that as a very selective process. We take like 7 out of 100 kids when they apply. But then beyond that, we have a general membership that's open to everybody, and we have a very tranche system of like how much involvement you want to have. So we want to get the core, best of the best, into what we call the strategic capital group within our group. But then we want, say, if you want to get more involvement but you don't want to get that highest level, you can join investment teams. So we have people from that initial core group teach those investment teams. If you just want to come to meetings and be generally involved, then you can come and you can have a totally voluntary experience where you can come at your leisure. So what we'll do is we'll have a group of, say, 20 kids who are at that core who lead the group overall in terms of all the different educational things that we do. However, beyond that, we'll have a membership base of over 150 people when we get all the way out to the fringes of those who are least involved. And that way we are able to maximize the educational output that we have because everybody is able to get some, but at the same time we're making sure to focus on the core output of our membership so that we're not just a dispersed band roaming through the wilderness.